myself onto screen even though the song was still going. But anyway, as anyone who's tuning in will obviously know, I'm Derek Anthony Williams, sometimes known as the Futurist, obviously. Yeah, so we've got Miss Zoe Simon of Sex Bandit coming up in around 15-20 minutes or so, because we've got a gig coming up on the 24th with her and Punk Disco and Palindrones at the Bird's Nest, Deptford. So that's going to be something very exciting to look forward to. Very much looking forward to having a chat with her as well about her Sex Bandit project. Also have a bit of stuff with artists that are coming up that I'm playing with in, say, York, and maybe have a bit of Republica as they're coming up next week on Saturday 25th of March. No, it's February still. I'm moving ahead through this year. I'm the futurist after all. Anyway, I think to celebrate 10 years of friendship with my good friend the John Crush, aka the Alpha Video, I think I should play one of his tracks. So I think if I get it right, I don't know where I put it now. Have you noticed at all that YouTube is being a bit awkward these days with, I think they've sort of got an algorithm going off there. You search for something and then it tends to just give you like its own sort of idea of recommended links sort of thing. I don't know why that is. It seems harder and harder to find sort of more obscure stuff on there. You know, it wants to promote you all the sort of stuff that's majorly known. Anyway, this was kind of a watershed moment for the Alpha Video when they sort of really realised, you know, they've actually got something that's been sort of faffing about with their music software and that for a while, but they felt this was where it really first came together for the first time. This is Plasticine by the Alpha Video.
Well, I love it, baby. That look in your eyes, that kind of zombie stare, got me feeling paralyzed.
that was the alpha video with Plasticine. Absolute storming track, that, I think. Let's have a bit of Punk Disco, who are also joining us on the 24th.
They want ya, they need ya. They want ya, they need ya. Baby, doll. Baby, doll. They want ya, they need ya. They want ya, they need ya. Boys like looking at your hair at the disco, where the kids go. How you love the way they stare at the disco, where the kids go. Baby, doll. Baby, doll. They want ya, they need ya. They want ya, they need ya. Boys like looking at your hair at the disco, where the kids go. At the disco. How you love the way they stare at the disco, where the kids go. At the disco, where the kids go. Baby, doll. Baby, doll. They want ya, they need ya. They want ya, they need ya. Boys like looking at your hair at the disco, where the kids go. At the disco. How you love the way they stare at the disco, where the kids go. 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 At the disco. Boys like looking at your hair at the disco, where the kids go. At the disco. How you love the way they stare at the disco, where the kids go. At the disco. Boys like looking at your hair at the disco, where the kids go. At the disco. How you love the way they stare at the disco.
And I'm back, sort of, anyway. Yeah, that was Punk Disco, where it was a live stream, so we didn't have the full track there, so you just had to put up with it kind of cutting off a little bit early. Shall we have a bit of Sex Bandit and then go into the interview segment? I think we shall. Right, anyway, so let's have Sex Bandit with Relax. Sex Bandit.
When you wanna go to it, relax, don't do it. When
Zoe Simon now. So hopefully we shall see her very shortly after seeing lovely Pusmogs there, first of all.
Yeah.
And Pusmogs are important as well, of course.
Yeah, they are. His brother just appeared and started washing him, so I thought...
Which was... I mean, the thing is, that's really what people are here for, to see cats grooming each other, you know.
I think so.
Yes, anyway, so welcome to
Thank
Near
you.
Futurist TV, and we should, I guess, just let you tell people what Sex Bandit is all about then. Right, off you go. You've got 1 minute starting from... No.
Oh, no!
No,
oh,
no.
give me a little question or something.
Yeah. So yeah, I told you. So what's Sex Bandit all about then? You know, I mean, that's a simple enough question, right?
I suppose so. Oh dear. So it comes out of a synergy between me and my partner in the band, the Count of Anticristo, and a lot of shared enthusiasms to do with music and art and comics, and we have a sort of special formula of instruments that we use in the studio. So the lead guitar, the sex bass, as I call it, or the Fender 4, it gets a slightly demonic lead guitar sound, and then we have a lot of loops, and we use a Roland TR-808. And we're also very interested in the occult. So we like slightly demonic sounding chords. So one of our songs at the moment is a cover of Pink Floyd's Lucifer Sam, which is about a spooky cat. If you don't know it, it's from one of their early Insane albums before they calmed down a bit. So that's Syd Barrett. And it's about a cat who's a bit of a familiar, and you don't know whether the singer's a bit scared of him or if he really likes the cat. So it's been about us finding material that we really like. Some of it is quite obscure. One of our original songs, Vampire Zoo, is inspired by a rare 45. So that's Mickey Lee Lane's The Zoo, and his zoo is quite cute. And ours isn't cute, it's full of killer bees. So people come to meet Frankenstein, killer bees in our zoo. So that was what it came out of. And before I was doing Sex Bandit, I was working a lot as a performance artist, and sometimes in the Netherlands. And so our first gig was actually in Playroom Gallery in Zaandam, just outside Amsterdam.
So,
I performed, yeah.
So why start a band and just largely do cover songs? What made you decide to opt for that rather than maybe spending a bit of... Was it maybe perhaps because you'd come from more the performance artist side?
I think so. I think it came out of shared enthusiasms for particular songs, and wanting to do our take on them and having thoughts about them. And also, yes, being a performance artist is a bit like being an actor. So you are sometimes inhabiting material and inhabiting other things. And also, you know, we're both interested in other musical scenes like the rockabilly scene, where bands do traditionally do their take on older songs, like the neo-rockabilly bands of the 80s, or a fusion of the original rockabilly with punk. So I think it's to do with sort of where we came from before, really.
Yeah, and you do obviously have quite your own take on the idea as well, with them being electro covers generally, and
Yeah.
The songs you're covering not always so electro. So has there been any challenges or sort of anything perhaps that you've kind of found unexpected when converting something that's more rock music, say like the Transvision Vamp track, into an electro banger?
Well, the Transvision Vamp actually, I think, works particularly well. And when the last time I performed it in Soho, I looked round and the sound man was literally going like this. Really,
Yeah.
really. So that, I think, because that's got quite a driving beat, so that one particularly works. The one that I think was a bit harder to find the groove of was our cover of the Divinals, I Touch Myself, and we've slowed that one right down. So that's got almost slightly, not trance-like in the sense of trance music, but it's got a slightly trance-like quality, and it's got a more ponderous beat. So that probably was slightly more tricky, that one, because that is very much a rock song. While somehow the Transvision vamp, actually, when it came to it, the sort of clue was already there with that beat.
Did you always know with each track sort of what you felt you would want to do with it, or was it like you sort of got down to it and then maybe it took an unexpected twist, such as I Touch Myself ended up being a slow track, you know, or did you always intend that?
I think there are some sort of presets, if you like, in the sense that the Count really likes to use particular instruments to get a Sex Bandit sound. So the heavy bass guitar is quite an important part of it, and he likes to use particular tunings for some of the other guitars and particular amps. So that always stays, but yeah, there are surprises. I think probably the biggest one was I Touch Myself. Some just lend themselves more easily, like Lucifer Sam does. But yeah, things just go in an unexpected direction as well, I suppose. I'm trying to think. Relax.
And Relax is probably closest to the original out of all that you do.
I think so. I love that song. I loved it.
And the thing is, it is a classic sort of catchy song with that rather sort of cunning edge to it. You know, I mean, people, I'm sure at the time, weren't necessarily entirely aware of what it was all about.
Well, there's a really funny story about it in that there was one DJ who, because when there was a backlash against it, one of the first DJs who played it didn't really realise that it was rude, and then he saw the sleeve and decided that it was, and then refused to play it on his show after that. But I love that song, and actually one of the reasons I played it in the Netherlands was because I was part of a festival about masculinity, and you know, because the previous year the gallery had done a show about femininity, and then they decided that actually masculinity isn't always that much discussed, and so I was.
So it was a show about me, obviously being
it was all about you.
Hyper masculine as I am, indeed. You know, I mean,
but it was that song particularly was great because, you know, at the time Holly Johnson being in the sort of gay fetish club scene is really controversial, and I think the year that it was actually released, they weren't able to perform it until the Christmas time of that year as well.
Yeah, it did get like Radio 1 banned and so forth as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
So I want to know also why you opted for the sort of the Sex Bandit name and sort of idea of it being a very sex positive kind of act, as you say in the bio for it.
Yeah, there are all sorts of reasons. And when I was growing up, I really liked the Sex Pistols, but I was always struck by the fact that there was the Sex Pistols, but then the Slits, the female punk band, had a real problem because of their name, and they did have a problem getting played and things like that. And even though, you know, essentially the two things refer to genitalia, so I thought it was about time that there was a sort of female sort of sex-driven name sort of coming to the fore. That was quite important. Also, it also comes from a pony persona that I had when I was doing performance art, and you know, pony wears a tail up her bum, you know, which isn't sort of considered perhaps a sort of a desirable or sort of as something that someone should be doing, I suppose. So it's the idea of the sex bandit, someone who has their own sort of fetishes and their own pleasures, and who's just going to do whatever's right for them. I'm quite interested in the fetish scene as well, and I think sex positivity is part of it as well, because sometimes for me that can be the drawback of feminism, that it doesn't really address that part of our lives, and that is part of our lives, you know, it's all part of it. I like some of the things Johnny Rotten says about you know, language, when he says, you know, people got really cross when they had the album Nevermind the Bollocks, and he said, well, bollocks is a real word, so is fucking shit. And it's the idea, I think, that in art and creativity we shouldn't just hive off bits of our existence and think, oh no, I can't talk about that, that's too rude. Or I like the idea that if you think about it and it's part of your life and it's sort of part of human existence, then that you can. And I also like the idea that it's, you know, it's maybe not something that somebody in the mainstream would think of doing. And I sometimes think, I wonder how it would be in terms of radio play. I mean, I guess they play the Sex Pistols, but it interests me as well that it's still a thing, really.
Yeah. There's still a certain taboo edge to such a thing, I guess. And on that subject, when I was sort of discussing sort of lineups for this gig we've got coming up at the Bird's Nest, someone I talked to who had seen you live said they didn't know where to put their eyes. They were somewhat shocked at your performance. So how do you feel about that? I mean, surely that's kind of a good thing, really. You know, I mean, it's them that's got the problem, you know, so...
Well, I think I don't think I set out to be shocking, but I try not to censor myself as well. Yeah. I think that's really important, but it sort of does amuse me. I was probably wearing a skirt that was a bit too short. I sometimes forget that, and then I do high kicks.
Yeah, I think they said everything was on display.
Oh,
so I mean, I'm not. I mean, the thing is, I mean, I can only go on what I've seen from the sort of live videos and so forth, and it's sort of no more really worse than hot gossip on Top of the Pops or anything.
Oh, I love hot gossip.
Yeah,
and actually,
I couldn't imagine you would ever be interested in the flamboyant, sexy dance group. That seems highly unlikely with someone like you.
Well, also, Wendy James was always getting accused, wasn't she, of wearing, you know, particularly revealing stuff. And I can remember as a child, I wasn't allowed pictures of Wendy James in my room, but I was allowed pictures of Madonna. So I don't know if Madonna would be pleased about that or not. Probably not.
Oh,
she was the table.
What's that? Wendy O. Wild or something, is it, that got criticism for her manner of dress in the early 80s as part of the whole furor in America with the sort of censorship of things. Wendy Williams, I should know. I'm a Williams.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look that one up.
She was sort of criticised for having provocative dress on her album cover, but it's surely it's powerful, you know, be expressing, and she was presenting a powerful image. I'll send you an image later and you can see, but yeah, I mean, surely it's the same thing with you. It's a dramatic expression of the self, surely.
It is, and also I think it is, you know, it is rock and roll, so we're not going to have the same idea probably of what someone else would have. You know, we're not accountants and we don't work in a bank, so we're not going to probably do what other people would do. And I think there is something about having an arresting image. Like I'm trying to think, there are, you know, great photos of the Roxy, and there's it's another American singer, and there's a brilliant picture of her. And she's standing next to Sting, and she's got hot pants and then this top which says "Lick Me" on it, and it's just it's a really arresting image. I think it's by Derek Ridges, who did a lot of the early punk photographs. But and it's also about being confident, I think, in your sexuality as well. Like, it makes me think of Jordan, who worked in the Vivienne Westwood shop, and nobody was going to tell her how to dress, and
No.
she very much had her own ideas.
And the recent Pistol TV series sort of had quite a bit to do with her. Did you see any of that?
Oh, I did. I did. My favorite line from that episode, and actually the Count of Monte Cristo watched it too, and we both liked it when she got put in first class on the train because she was causing such an uproar.
Yeah.
And they asked her if she'd like breakfast, and she said, "Oh, provocateering is such hungry work."
I mean, yeah, and it's quite interesting that such things can still feel a little bit taboo even now. You would have thought that people would have been a bit more used to it now, but I think there is still that element there.
I think there is. I mean, I've worked a lot as a life model, and there's still a bit of a thing about that. And people say, "Oh, you take your clothes off for art classes," and you think, well, people aren't really going to learn to draw the body if you wear a rain mac. That's not going to work. But I think there is still something about nudity, and possibly a bit more about the nude female body, or that sort of seems to draw people's attention. And maybe there's a superstitious element to it as well, and that we perhaps feel more vulnerable when we're naked as well.
And it was nice to have a guest appearance from the cat just then as well. I mean, if only they could just join in a little bit more, that would be nice. But,
yeah. I mean, he's grooming himself. So,
we're so boring. We're so boring to him.
I know, they've literally been bouncing off the walls all day.
So with regards to writing an original track, what was it like then to approach doing that, and how soon did that come along in the progress of Sex Bandit?
Well, it came along a little by accident. It came along at the end of the summer, and actually in time for the first gig I did at the Rock and Roll Cabaret in Soho. If anyone hasn't been, it's above the Blue Post pub in Berwick Street. So that was back in December, and we were just talking about how great that song was, and then we were also talking about how the Cramps, often used rare 45s as a basis for a lot of their songs. I think "I'm a Teenage Werewolf" uses a particular riff, "Strolling After Dark," I think, by the Shades. And we were talking about that, and I was saying that I loved the Mickey Lee Lane song "The Zoo," and how it would sound really funny on the megaphone, because I sometimes use a megaphone on stage, and how crazy I could go. And then we just started working on it together, and I was saying it would be great if the lyrics about the zoo were completely different, and it was the sort of almost like a nightmare zoo that you might think was quite cool at first with Frankenstein, but then when you got to being chased through the trees by killer bees, you might think differently. So it was quite organic. I think what happens when you form a band with someone and you start writing with someone is because you have shared enthusiasms, and you often have an exchange. Like we're often messaging back and forth about things that you then just want to try something, and it does happen quite naturally.
I just thought I'd also, before we're about to wrap up the interview now, we have had a compliment on your excellent hair in the chat, so that's something nice.
I say.
So anything else you feel you'd like to add about Sex Bandit, like maybe why you decided to use the megaphone, but anything else you think of as well before we wrap things up that people might need to know about you?
Well, so the performance art that I did was almost like occupations, really. So I sang in that as well, but only through a megaphone. And then I had a mobile sound system actually strapped to myself. And so the first performance I did was in the Elephant and Castle shopping centre, which was condemned. And that was really a comment on gentrification and artists getting pushed out of an area. So the songs themselves weren't especially political. I sang "Happy Birthday" by Altered Images, but it was the idea of an artist and a creative person taking over a space in an unusual way. And then I did a performance in Germany in Landshut, and then I went to the Netherlands with that. And so that's where the megaphone comes from. And also I like the incongruity of it, because you expect someone to be chanting political slogans, but I think one of the things that occurs to me that Sex Bandit is also about is about being an individual. And so I sort of feel that part of having that megaphone is exercising the right to be unusual and to be an individual and to be sex positive and to do weird covers of other people's songs that no one would expect, and to wear crazy clothes. I think, the megaphone really expresses individuality and also weirdness. Like you don't necessarily expect that. You expect someone to be a bit better behaved and use a microphone.
And what drew me to Sex Bandit obviously was just the fact that you put on a show, which, you know, it's something I'm always looking for, real performers, and it seems you've definitely got that in spades. And I kind of hope in a way that maybe you might be a little bit provocative, because it's always interesting to try and shake people out of their shells a little bit, I think. So anyway, I'll let you get on with your evening and to tend to your marvellous feline friends there, as I'm sure they will have many demands later on you. Yeah, thanks a lot for having a chat to me. I'm going to play your zoo track now, and with a slideshow you've made for it. So thanks very much, and I will see you on the 24th. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having a chat. It's been absolutely lovely to find out more about what it is that you get up to. So yeah, let's play this music. Play that funky music, white boy, and then I'll see you. I'll see you, as I say, on the 24th. Thanks very much, and
thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye for now. TTFN.
Hey ghouls, what's new? You gotta come to a zoo. Frankenstein will drive you wild. He'll push you in just like a child. Going blah 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 to Vampire Zoo. You're gonna hear from old King Kong. He eats girls and boys, that makes him really strong. Going blah 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 to Vampire Zoo. Rhinoceroses, hippopotamus,
Yeah, that was obviously Sex Bandit, Miss Zoe Simon. Looking forward to her live show. It's going to be pretty exciting. On the 24th, as you saw there, put the poster back up, a second put it over Zoe, why not? It'll do for now. There we go. Let's have that there. So, alternative electronic to Bird's Nest Deptford. Palindrones also joining us. So, let's have a bit of them, shall we? Let's, what's it called this time? I mean, they're weird names. Beltane. Promenade Cinema as we're running out of time here. It's Promenade Cinema with To Syncronise To. Also did a cover of Royals with a going way back 2014 time. Anyway, we're going to move swiftly on and have Saigonbluerain.
Sacrificial
wasn't it? I absolutely loved that. I think it's better than their other track. Anyway, this is Feather Trade. Also right, I'll get myself back on screen one final time. Apparently it's 42 years to the day today since Sisters of Mercy made their live debut, so I think I'll finish with Damage Done, the first Sisters of Mercy track, when I find it anyway. Always the professional. Right, here we are. So yeah, this will be final track tonight. Come see JDB at the Bird's Nest in London for a headline show, which will be thoroughly spectacular with Sex Bandit, Punk Disco, Palindrones. That's going to be exciting stuff, and free entry there as well. You can come see JDB in Derby supporting Republica on the 25th. Sort of a micro tour of London and Derby for that weekend. And then 11th of March in York. There's several other things coming up as well, but more of those later. Anyway, for now, let's have Sister Mercy, Damage Done, kind of fan-made video for it. Hopefully it'll play as well. So that's all for me. I'm going to, in a little while, watch some films with Margaret Ludwig, but for now, I'll sign off, I guess, and you can enjoy a bit of Sister Mercy.
Somebody tell me about that. I need to know about that. Somebody tell me about that. The royal ballet on a blitzkrieg pop. Somebody tell me how to move my feet. Just to make those big ass dirty.